From working in tech, the nonprofit space, and in local government, and then moving over to real estate. Listen in as we explore this journey with Braden Lopez-Biggs. In his first year, Braden closed 8 transactions and in just a few months won the Rookie of the Year for the Housing Around Arizona team. This year, he's closed 25 transactions already and on pace to hit several more. Listen to this incredible story with Braden and his advice for getting started in real estate.
Welcome to Unlocking Real Estate, My First Commission, where we dive into real stories, big wins, and early lessons learned from highly successful rookie real estate agents and brokers. This is the series where we explore how real estate transforms lives, one home at a time, by sitting down each week with a new agent or broker who has found incredible success in their first year. Your hosts are instructors and leaders at Colibri Real Estate School, one of the largest real estate educators in the nation, where we focus on helping people like you get started or find continued success in their careers.
Hello, and welcome to Unlocking Real Estate, My First Commission. I'm your host, Tina Lapp, Head of Industry Relations and Career Excellence for Colibri Real Estate. I've been in real estate education for over 30 years, helping individuals enter and thrive in their real estate careers. We are here today with Braden Lopez-Biggs. Braden, will you take a moment to introduce yourself, where you live, what company you're with?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Braden Lopez-Biggs. I'm a realtor with Realty One Group here based out of Chandler, Arizona, but I actually live in Phoenix.
Wonderful. So welcome from Arizona. Braden, let's start with the beginning. What were you doing before you got into real estate?
Yeah, so my background is actually in nonprofit management and government. So I was a director of a local nonprofit. I've worked for several nonprofits across the valley. I was also in government. So I'm a former elected city council member. I've run for the state legislature. So done a lot of work real estate adjacent, right? I mean, obviously working with a lot of developers, working with a lot of realtors, and a lot of those aspects. So when I was asked to come into real estate, it was a little bit of a different approach as well. So a long time ago, in a much former life, I was in the tech sales space. I'm on a team. My team lead and I are really good friends. He actually called me kind of pretty much out of the blue saying, hey, I'm looking to expand. We're looking to open new markets. I need to bring on basically number 2. I need to bring on somebody that I can trust that is going to, do a lot of the business side of things so I can focus really on big picture stuff. I kind of made a joke of it. He was our realtor when we bought our house, and I made a joke of it. I'm like, oh, you can't bring me on. You can't afford me, whatever. And he's like, well, just let's open the conversation. Let's try. And of course, I'm always open to opportunities. I, like to see what's out there and, kind of test my own knowledge on different things too. And real estate's always been something that I've had everybody tell me, oh, you need to get into real estate. And I'm like, no. So it was a really good conversation though, obviously, and that turned into something. So initially what it was really looking to be was, a more professional side of things than real estate. Coming in as the office manager and helping to do a lot of the background stuff. So that was actually in November, December of 2023. January of 2024, I officially left my nonprofit job at that point, started going into real estate school, finished real estate school within the 7-day crash course or 5-day crash course, whatever it was. Went immediately and took my school test, went immediately right after that and took my state test. Was very fortunate enough to be one of the lucky ones that passed both of them on the very first try. I still don't know how I did that, but whatever. And started right then and there. So I think from literally like January 5th was my first day of real estate school through, whatever 3 weeks later was, I was up and running and started working on the team as the office manager, really learning a lot of the background stuff, how to do real estate, really looking at a contract and transactions and figuring out, okay, when you have a brand new client, you start here and then you go here and you do this and you do this and all these, processes that come into play. Working with, at the time, we had 7 agents, so working with our 7 agents to really understand their process and their flow, obviously working with the team lead on all of that stuff, and then going from there. So I spent about the first 6 months of 2024 just deep diving into all of that. I would take calls, but I wouldn't actually do the sale. I wouldn't do the paperwork. I just did the background stuff before I really felt comfortable enough to finally say, okay, I'm going to take a call or I'm going to take a sale. And then the rest is kind of history from there. So now I do both. I dual role. So it's pretty exciting.
Oh my gosh, what a whirlwind, Braden. So we're going to unpack that a little bit because I love the story. I mean, so interesting, going from being a public figure and being involved in the community and nonprofit work and all this amazing stuff. Someone convinces you to get into real estate. How'd you make the decision? Like, what was it about real estate that you thought, yeah, I think this is for me?
For me, I am not one to sit still. Anybody who knows me knows that if I sit still, I start destroying things. My husband and I are very different in the fact that he likes calm and peace and quiet and tranquility.
Yeah.
I thrive in chaos. I like loud noise. I like being busy. I can handle a construction zone. He gets sent to a hotel when I start ripping things out in the house because I can't deal with it. So for me, it was, really learning and having those upfront conversations about, I like to be in an atmosphere that I'm learning every day, that's something different, that's changing. Government, as much as I love it, it is a very stagnant process, right? You can't just on a Monday decide you're going to do something and by Friday have it done. It's a long, drawn out process. The same thing in the nonprofit world. Like I said, my background, my education is all in the nonprofit space, and it's wonderful and collaborative, and the stories that come out of it, and that those touchy-feely moments that come out of it are fantastic, but it's a lot of grueling work, and a lot of that work goes unappreciated a lot of the times until you finally hit that big result. So for me, it was really looking at all of those and knowing what my background is and knowing that, okay, I know a lot about real estate already that most people probably don't know because I see it from a completely different light. I look at things from a planning and zoning lens. I look at things from a elected official lens. I look at things from, a homelessness lens, my nonprofit background, and what that brings to the community. So for me, one of the things that I always talk about is, I have been very fortunate enough in my career to work in all 15 counties across Arizona in some capacity, whether it's government related or nonprofit. I have touched all 15 counties. So my background isn't just the Phoenix market. My background is Arizona. As you may or may not know, or any of the listeners may or may not know, Arizona is the 48 states. So there's always that whole state 48 thing that we play on all the time here. I have been very, very fortunate enough to bring a lot of clients to Arizona who are looking to go outside of, or moving here from another state, or trying to buy their first house here and to make Arizona their home. For all of making 48 someone else's home. It's my home. It's where I grew up. I absolutely love this state. There's no corner of the state that I travel to that I don't just fall in love with it all over again. So, that was the big drive for me, is being able to make an impact on people's lives, and what better way to make that impact than being able to hand them over their keys as a family and say, congratulations, you're a homeowner.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've made an impact on people's lives throughout your entire career, even what you were doing before real estate. And this is just a continuation, and that your knowledge of Arizona has got to play into your success in real estate, I'd imagine.
No, absolutely it does. And again, I think for me, it goes back to, those planning and zoning roots, right? Being able to know the communities, being able to know different officials, be it elected officials or the government staff, knowing those neighborhoods, knowing those communities. I can help families decide, where are you looking to go if you're a young family like me. I've got two kiddos. I've got a soon-to-be 2-year-old and a 3-month-old. So my aspects in life are looking towards, future schools and good neighborhoods and community, good places with parks, things like that. But I've got clients that don't have kids, that don't want kids. I've got, clients that are 55 and over that are looking for the best place to go golfing or, that nightlife. So having that experience across Arizona really does help. And then not being afraid to, think outside the box, because what works here in Phoenix, if you're in a metropolitan area, right, what works for inside that 5th largest city in the nation works very, very differently in rural Arizona, where you're looking at farmland or ranches or acreage or, whatever, or you're just looking to buy a piece of land to eventually put something on there. So it's definitely unique. There's not really one piece of real estate that I focus on 100%, except for focusing on the client.
Yeah, I love that. You focus on the client. That's great. So a lot of our listeners are thinking about a career in real estate. They're working full time. They're looking to make the shift. You said that you made the shift, you dove in, you got through classes relatively quickly. What were you doing when you went through the classes? Were you able to focus 100% on your classes? Were you also doing some of your other business at the time? Walk us through that experience.
Yeah, again, I will say that I'm very privileged in the fact that knowing that I was going to be dual rolling in my position, both as a staff member for the team and a realtor, right? I didn't have to necessarily worry about the fact that I wasn't going to be bringing home a paycheck, because I actually, fortunately enough, because of my position as a W-2 employee and a 1099 employee, I got paid while I went to real estate school. So I know that that's not the option for most. But I had that also added the pressure that, hey, I'm getting paid to be here, so I have to take it seriously, right? I don't have the luxury of failing my real estate school 3, 4, 5 times and waiting 6 months. Like, it was a condition of my employment that I had to have it basically within 60 days. So I think my team lead acknowledged the fact that, hey, you might fail the test, and if you do, you're going to have to retake it, but I'm going to give you that time. But the expectation was that my job was contingent upon my having my license. I just found the fundamentals that worked for me in school and yeah, right. But I found those fundamentals that worked for me in school, and I was able to hone in on that and, focus on that, which obviously was successful in passing that test. So that was definitely a big motivator there. I think the other drivers of really just getting going, though, I mean, again, that first year, now being at the end of my second year, walking into my third full year, looks very, very different than it did that first year, that first 6 months. I am more real estate based now than I am operational. And that's because I was able to put systems and processes and things into place that we didn't have before, that allowed me that fluctuation and the ability to do that. But that it's a unique case for me, and maybe not for everybody.
Yeah. So when you started your first year, like, you've pivoted, right? You were a W-2 employee at the firm doing some administrative stuff. What a great opportunity to learn the back end of the business. Like, I think that's great. What did you expect to do your first year? Like, what were your expectations going in, and then how did it differ from reality?
Yeah, I actually had no expectations of doing any transactions that first year, except maybe like 2, right? And I really was focused on the back end and learning that. And I'm very fortunate enough, last year in 2024, our team did 156 transactions and just over $40 million. This year, we're set to do over 200 transactions and probably sitting in between like 55 million and 60 million. So again, having that knowledge and the ability, the biggest thing that I can preach to anybody out there looking to get into real estate that might be considering, joining a team or going at it solo, don't be afraid to join a team. I think unfortunately, I think there's a very big stigma against joining a team because of commission splits or because of whatever. Unless you can walk into this business knowing that you've got a huge, I'm going to date myself and say Rolodex, or phone database of everybody that you can start calling and you're going to walk in with sales. Don't be afraid, because being able to join those teams gives you that collaboration with people. It gives you the ability to learn from one another. You're not everything. You're probably not going to know about 95% of what you actually really need to know in real estate coming straight out of school. Not to say it's not important, but there's just so much real world knowledge that comes into play when you're actually working through a transaction and working with a client that school just can't prepare you for. So don't be afraid of those opportunities to grow and experience that, even if it's for a couple years and then you feel like you get a good footing to go and do anything else. And also, from my perspective, don't be afraid to ask your other team members or something, hey, can I look over your contract? Really understand what that looks like. Again, that deep dive that I got, that I'm very fortunate enough, and I know it because not everybody does get that, is I had the ability for 6 months to look at we did 156 transactions, so 75, 80 transactions, and even to this day with us doing 200, there is not a piece of paperwork within the transaction that does not cross my desk at some point in time. So even with my own personal volume that I'm doing now, I'm still seeing all of these other transactions that my team members are doing and getting that, knowledge from each one of these transactions. So don't be afraid to ask for that, because it's just ingraining the stuff into your head and making sure that you know it inside and out. I'm not perfect. I don't pretend to be perfect, but based off of what I've seen, and I've got agents on my team that are way more experienced than I am, I go tit for tat with them just because they may have the transactional volume and that experience because they've been in it for 10 years. I've got the paperwork experience. I see all of these. So it amazes them. Sometimes they're like, well, I'm not going to argue with you because you know. I'm like, yeah, I know because I see it.
Yeah. Yeah, and having that exposure to all these transactions, and then when you start selling, so you were on a team from the get-go, right?
Yeah, I was, and still am.
Yeah, and still are, and it's working, and it sounds, and like your numbers that you're putting out are just fantastic. Do you remember your first transaction that you had as a real estate agent?
Yep. Yeah, I could tell you every detail about that transaction. And here's my memory is crazy, because I'll remember crazy things. Like, here's a fun fact: kangaroos can't hop backwards. Do you think I'm going to remember my social security number? No.
That's great. That's great. So your first transaction, how long after you were licensed did you have your first transaction? Because I knew you were working as an admin in the office, and just slowly going into real estate.
So
how long was it?
Yeah, 6 months. And that was, I honestly, I took that call out of a whim, and the way it flowed, I had every intention of passing it off, but the way that conversation just kept flowing, the client kept asking questions. I was able to answer those questions, and then it just naturally kind of fell into my lap. It really, and by that point that I was ready to go, okay, I'm going to pass this off to, one of my agents, I was like, why am I doing that? I've literally spent the last 2 hours answering these questions. It was actually a land deal, so it was something that not a lot of people really do dabble in. And I was just like, this is an easy land deal. It wasn't a huge sum of money. I think it was like $40,000 or something along that line. And I'm like, let me just keep working through this. And I ended up going out and meeting the client at the land, was able to answer all of his questions and put that under contract and close it within about 14 days after, going out and shaking his hand and meeting him. And so I think soup to nuts, we were really talking 20 days plus, give or take.
Wow. Why couldn't they all be like that, right?
Right? I know. I know.
Yeah. So tell me about how you've established yourself, established credibility, started marketing. Like, what did all that look like for you as you were moving more from the back end administrative side to now being out there and running your own real estate business?
Yeah, I mean, I think for anybody, and again, this is the leverage of being on a team, is that as an individual agent, you can really only talk about your sales and you can only talk about your experience and your expertise. It doesn't matter if you're at a boutique brokerage or you're, a large brokerage. I'm at a very large brokerage. But when you're on a team, you have the ability to say, hey, you know what? I may not have this specific expertise or this knowledge, but someone on my team does. I've got 13 agents now, and the ability to say that I've got 13 people who are all in your corner outside of my broker, outside of any of my other connections. I've got 13 people who are in your corner that if for some reason I can't answer that question, I've got 12 other people that I can go to and get the answer, and one of us is going to have it. Or, if I can't be somewhere, I've got 12 other people that can make sure that they're there for that blue tape walkthrough. They're there for that inspection, whatever it might be. If, so again, another advantage of being on a team. But I think the big thing that I try to do is it's not about me. I push my clients to give me reviews. And the reason I push that is because you want to hear it from somebody else about how good they are. You're not going to hear it from me because I'm going to tell you how good I am, but I also have to prove that. The clients that I have that have experience with me, they're the experts because they're looking at it from a completely different lens. So I love getting client feedback and hearing from them about, their experience and what they hear. And the thing that I hear the most and most frequently is, one, I'm looking out for their best interests, but I'm educating them on things that they didn't even know existed within the real estate world because they're not paying it. Their focus isn't, knowing about the ins and outs of how something works. Their focus is, well, I just need to get this house so I can move my family in.
Yeah, for sure. So as you got into the sales, did you focus on buyers, sellers, kind of anything, or do you have a particular niche?
I focused more on buyers. That has eventually led to additional referrals and things along that line. I'm starting to see a good mix, probably I'd say 75-25 with 75 on the buy side, 25 on the sale side. I actually was just having this conversation earlier today about I have several listings right now, and it's the most listings I've ever had, and they all went up at the same time, and they're all coming down at the same time. And it's been really weird because they sat there for a little bit and I'm like, what's going on with these? You get a little nervous about them. And I constantly have to remind myself, I'm like, okay, average days on market in the Phoenix market right now is about 60 to 65 days. So it's okay that they're sitting there. I'm average, right? It's okay. And I'm not, 2 years on the market or whatever. And then just start literally seeing them come off all one by one. It's really exciting to see, but then also that's fuel to the fire of going, well, great, now I need to go get more listings.
Yeah, right.
But it's exciting to see, and it's exciting to have that momentum and to actually start seeing a shift in the business, which to your earlier question about marketing and how I go about that, right? I mean, finding those ways to continue to market, be it social media, be it mailers, be it, different events. Obviously, I'm wearing one of my team shirts, so you'll frequently see that with me. Finding those different ways to market and that are creative. I mean, the reality is we work in an industry that everyone has a realtor. Like, it doesn't matter if they're your realtor or you know them because they're your friend's cousin's sister. Like, everyone has a realtor, and it always makes me laugh. You get on those like social media groups and like, I'm looking to sell my house. Who is a realtor? And 700 comments later, it's like, you realize how many of us there actually are. The difference is how many of us there actually are to how many of us are actually producing. And I think that that's a big level of differential of experiences, doing one deal a year to doing 30 plus deals a year where you actually know the ins and outs of everything.
Right. And so how do you, with that being said, how do you stand out among all the others? What do you do to help yourself stand out?
I'm just a goofball. I
And it works.
I've always,
it works.
It does, yeah. I don't take myself particularly too seriously. I mean, obviously I have to, and but I try to just relate to my client. I try to we're all people. I mean, this is the biggest purchase of their life, and it doesn't matter if they're buying that first time home at $300,000 or their retirement home at a multi-million-dollar home, right? It doesn't matter the level of transaction. You're relating to somebody as a person. So take the transaction out of it and make it more relational. And that's one of the things that I try to do. I mean, I have clients that I still talk to all the time that I've literally just become friends with because I get to know them. I get to know their family, their kids, whatever. And then we just stay in contact, and, we'll just randomly text one another. And it's not a, hey, how are you? What's going on? Do you have a referral for me? It's a, hey, I know today's your birthday, happy birthday. Or, hey, let's go grab drinks. I'm going to be in the area. I'm not afraid of that. So I think, and again, that's how you build a long-term client base, right? Just be yourself. Don't put too much pressure on it, because
Good advice.
In my experience, the pushier you are as a salesperson, the less likely you are to actually sell something. I truly cannot say that I have ever actually sold a home in my life. I have sold the belief, the experience, the opportunity to do it, right? When I hear a client talking about, oh man, we really like this feature, I really like this kitchen, you're talking about that. You're not selling the house. You're selling the life in the house. And that's the important thing for me to at least remember, is you're selling the memories they're going to build, the life they're going to build, not the house itself, because you can take that anywhere. It's the old adage, right? There's a house and there's a home.
Yes. And I think that's beautifully said, for sure. So you talked about you utilize social media. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you use social media, what platforms, what kinds of things you post about? As people are thinking about a career in real estate, they're thinking about what do I do? How do I do this? What would your advice there be?
Yeah, I will say I use it. I could, for being a millennial, I could probably be a heck of a lot better at using it. And I watch a ton of TikToks. That doesn't mean I know how to make TikToks by any means. But I use Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. When I get sales, I post about those sales, and I'll post, congratulations. Obviously I'm posting my reviews, right? And in doing so, I'm trying to use the right hashtags and stay relevant there. I don't think that there's one necessarily particular, right or wrong way to use social media. Again, I think it's one of those, especially in the real estate world, that, I don't know at least anybody on my team or anybody personally that I could say definitively completely and totally got a client because of some social media video that they did or some social media post. Now, that's not to say that it doesn't happen. It's a tool. It should not be the only tool that you rely on to get clients or to maintain clients, but it is a quick and easy way to stay in front of clients, for sure, and make sure that you're staying relevant. And it's also just a way for people to very easily know you and know a little bit more about you before they actually sit down with you for a buyer's consultation or a listing consultation. You're building that rapport before you have the chance to really shake their hand.
Yeah, that's great. And so you are finishing your first, I'm going to say, full year focused on real estate sales. How's the year going?
My year is fantastic. I have already crushed all of my goals. I'm setting up for 2026. It's exciting yet daunting at the same time, because I'm obviously bumping those goals up. I've exceeded them, so I'm like, okay, can I do this? But also being able to plan around that and plan all of the structures I'm putting into place to really know that. That I can do this, and two, just that I'm going to be okay. And if you have a down market or a down month, a down quarter, you're going to have to play that out. I actually experienced that earlier this year in quarter three. I had an abysmal quarter 3 and I paid the price for it. And then I literally, as soon as we get into quarter 4, I'm right back to where I was in the first 2 quarters. So there's some personal reasons for that, and that you have to play that game, but you have to know when to kind of pull yourself up by the bootstraps and get back to work.
Yeah. So Braden, what's been your biggest challenge, kind of transitioning from what you did prior to real estate to now, today, where you're full-time selling real estate? What's been the biggest challenge during that transition?
Yeah, it's the mindset shift, right? I mean, when you're a W-2 employee, you work for somebody, you know your KPIs or metrics that you're supposed to hit. You know your goals and your targets. Someone's telling you what to do, and you're going and implementing it. Or if you're in leadership, you're doing that as a team. But you generally, for the most part, depending on your industry, aren't worried about getting paid, because you're clocking in and you're hitting that time clock, or you're a salary and it's going to be consistent every 2 weeks. Like in real estate, you can go from having a $30,000 month to having a $0 month. And then you can go right back up again. You can go from 1 year making $100,000+ a year to the next year making next to nothing, or 3 times that, because of what it is. And I think our factor is that we have no crystal ball in this. I mean, most employees can say, well, I'm going to be employed by the end of the year. We have no crystal ball. We wake up as realtors. We wake up every single day unemployed. And it doesn't matter how many clients you have, how many deals you have under contract. We wake up every single day unemployed. And if we're not every single day fighting for employment, we're going to put ourselves out of business. So the thing that I always preach about is when you get into real estate, once you get your first couple deals down and you cross that $1 million threshold of gross volume, right? You have now transitioned from a employee, a realtor, to the CEO of a multi-million-dollar business. And it doesn't matter if you're on a team, it doesn't matter if you're a single agent, it doesn't matter if you're a lead. You have to think of yourself as a multi-million-dollar CEO. And if you look at the Elon Musks of the world, if you look at Jeff Bezos, any of these guys that are huge multimillionaires, multi-billionaires, or in the real estate world, if you take a look at like Ryan Serhant or anybody else and look at how they operate as a multi-million-dollar CEO. And you have to think of yourself that way. So you have to be willing to put in the work. And that means those 5 a.m. emails, those late nights, giving up some of the things that you can do. And you're going to probably work 360 days out of the year. I mean, I talk about, like I talked about earlier, I hate downtime. I hate sitting around. When I get sick, it is the worst thing in the world. Yeah. I cannot sit on the couch because it's going to drive me insane. I'm going to, have my laptop in front of me and I'm still working or doing things that I can do, even if I can't be making phone calls. It's finding those opportunities there and constantly it's that mind shift change. So for me, that's been the biggest change, but it's also been one of the most rewarding changes because nobody gets to tell me how to run my business. I'm responsible for running my business.
Yeah,
I'm responsible for making those things happen.
Mm-hmm. Braden, do you block any time for yourself? It's all yourself, right?
Yes. I mean, if we're talking about me personally, I really do try, especially like I'll get home, I'll sit down, with the kids for dinner and stuff like that. And then after we get bath time done and they go to bed, I go back to working. But if we're truly talking like time blocking, during 8 to 10, I'm going to make these phone calls or I'm going to check these emails. I personally don't think it works. It's a failed strategy. It works fantastic in the corporate world. It works fantastic when you know the X factor, if you will. At any given moment, we could get a call out of the blue to go show a house. We could get a call from a client on any major issue. So to time block yourself into a corner doesn't work. At least for me, it may work for others, and kudos to you.
Sure.
The thing that I have found is, really setting myself up on a Sunday when I sit down and plan out my week. Obviously, I have my calendar, I have my meetings, I have my showings, all of that's already in there. But when I look at my week, at my time for the week, and I go, okay, I have, 6 showings. I've got this meeting. I need to be here. I need there. I've got to travel, all of this. I look at that and I go, okay, what are the things that I really need to do this week? And in reality, it's following up with my prospective clients, continuing that moving forward, making sure my documents are there and I've got my compliance, all of those different pieces. And then I kind of go from there. But I say, my goal is to make 50 calls. It could be 50 calls on a Monday. It could be 50 calls on a Wednesday. It could be 10 calls for 5 days, whatever that looks like. But that's how I kind of time block my schedule. I set more attainable goals and go, okay, I'm going to get this done during the week versus saying from this time to this time, I'm only focused on this, because it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you've got some discipline, but your special sauce is really the ability to be nimble, be responsive. You get a call, you jump on it. And that's, I hear people say all the time, I called 3 agents, I didn't hear back from anybody. Like that, they wouldn't get that with you. Right?
I very rarely do I not answer my phone. I mean, I have been on vacation in Disneyland getting ready to jump on a ride, and I answer my phone and I'm like, hey, I'll call you back. Or if you want to have this call, you're going to hear me screaming my head off on a roller coaster, but I'm going to, I'll call you back. Give me 15 minutes or whatever. If there is nothing else that you take out of this for anybody who's listening, is answer your damn phone. That is your lifeline. Your cell phone is what is going to be the difference of you bringing home a paycheck or not bringing home a paycheck. So if you're unwilling to answer your phone, you're going to be unwilling to do anything for your client. It's the basic principle of this job. Yeah,
it's sound advice, my friend. Sound advice.
And I can't tell you how many agents don't answer their phone or call you back.
Yeah. So what's the future look like for you? Where do you see yourself in, say, 5 years?
Oh, I hate that question. and not for any particular reason other than the fact that if you would have asked me 5 years ago where I see myself in 5 years, I never would have said real estate. I think for me, I have a goal. Obviously, I'm walking to my 3rd year. I am looking into some certifications to continue my education and make sure that I can be the best realtor that I can be. Obviously, we're growing as a team. So we last year went from 7 agents. Now we're at 13. So I have some operational and management stuff that I'm doing on that side of the house. I'm growing in my leadership capacity within the real estate world as well. So for me, I think it's continued growth and opportunity. I will say I have kind of on my horizons in Arizona, you can go and take your broker's schooling and your broker's exam at that 3rd year once you pass that 3rd year mark. So for me, that's actually going to be January of 2027. So that's kind of been on my radar is, okay, I'm going to go do it. Even if I just go to the school and, I'm not going to say that I'm going to be a broker by 2027, but at least I'll, I have it. And I can be the associate broker at that point. So that's kind of on my horizon. But in reality, it's just continue to learn, continue to have fun, continue to make sales and find new ways to help clients get into homes.
Love it. And I assume you're having fun.
I'm having a lot of fun. Yeah. No day has been the same.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if it's my admin days or my real estate days, no day has been the same. It keeps me busy. It's a stress, but it's probably one of the best stresses outside of having kids that you can have.
That's great. So Braden, we're going to jump into our lightning round. Just some fun questions. First thing that comes to your mind. Should be easy. You can pass on any, of course. So if you don't like it, keep going. But can you share? Sometimes you just don't want to answer. It's all right. Is there a book or a podcast that you've read or listened to that you'd recommend for the audience?
A book or a podcast? Oh, God. I'm passing on that one for right now.
Okay, fair enough. There's probably too many to mention, right? If we had a time machine and you could go back to the day you started this journey entering real estate, what advice would you give yourself?
Buckle up.
Buckle up for the ride. You like roller coasters, so this is like right down your alley, right?
Yeah. That's it. It's the advice is just buckle up.
Yeah, I love it. If you could have dinner with one person, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Oh, I'm a big history person, and of course that plays into the political life and all of that. But I think any one of our founding fathers, I would absolutely love to have a conversation about their thought process on the creation of our country.
That's cool. I ask that question a lot, and I've not gotten that, and I love it. That's great. Tell us about your day yesterday. What'd you do for work?
It was Monday. Mondays are I did. Yeah, I generally don't pay attention. I live and die by my calendar. Mondays are generally my admin days, so it's a lot of the background stuff. I'm not as focused on real estate unless I'm dealing with active clients and stuff like that. So I'm making sure that our commissions are done as a team. I'm following up on all of our deals, making sure escrows and deals are getting opened if we're going into contract from the weekend. So it's really just a lot of background admin stuff. If we were to talk about today, we had our team meeting this morning. On my way over to the office, I was dealing with clients and calls. I actually got a new lead that's already pre-approved that was handed over to me from one of my lending partners. So I'm on this. I literally get off this and I go right back into making phone calls and dealing with clients and putting things under contract or finishing some sales out this week. So it's a busy week.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I know our listeners and viewers are very interested in what they can expect and what a day in the life looks like. So super helpful.
There is no one particular way or day, and I generally will try to not work on Sundays unless I absolutely have to. I work 6 days a week. Sunday is my family day. It's my day to catch up on stuff. So I generally will try not to. But last week I was actually out of state for a conference, so it's been a little bit busier just because I'm still playing catch up from stuff that I wasn't able to get done last week. So
yeah. So Braden, as we're wrapping up here, any final tips, tricks, advice that you'd like to share with individuals who are considering a career in real estate?
Yeah, I think, and I actually, going back to social media, right? I did a social media post on this yesterday. You know, everybody's going to sit down and talk about, oh, my level of expertise, or I've done X number of transactions. Experience does not equal expertise. I cannot say that enough. I don't care if you've been in the business for 50 years. That does not mean that you are an expert. There is no expertise in this business because when I got into the business, we were just starting with dealing with the lawsuits and all of that stuff that have now fundamentally changed real estate. That's going to be the case next year. There's going to be something that will fundamentally change real estate. So you're never an expert. But I also think that don't be afraid to ask questions. And I think this is a very competitive industry. I would venture to guess that probably 90+% of us are type A personalities. We're competitive, we're aggressive, we're going to go out and do everything. Don't feel like you have to be the smartest person in the room. Don't feel that you have to know everything. Don't even feel like you have to have that leg up. Have open and honest conversations. If that's an open and honest conversation with your client, the best answer I can give my client is, hey, you know what? I actually don't know, but let me go find out because I don't want to tell you wrong information because this could come back and bite you. It could bite me. I'm not about to get sued. I'm not about to lose my license. I want to make sure you're protected. Let me go ask. From the other agent's perspective, right? I'm going to do the same thing. I am not afraid to say, hey, you know what? I actually don't know. Do you know how to handle this in this transaction? And if they're the opposing agent, they're not, you're not lawyers. You're not opposing, lawyers on the other side trying to defend. You're working on this together. So work with your agent on the other side of this transaction, because they equally are trying to put a sale on the board and bring food home for their family and put their client in a house or sell their client's house. Work with them, don't work against them. It's going to make your life easier. It's going to make your life smoother. And ultimately, it's just going to make the transaction smoother. And these transactions, I still catch myself in this all the time. I use a lot of we. I put myself in the client's shoes because I'm right there with them, right? I've been there to help them get pre-approved. I've shown them every house. I went through this contract with them. I'm not a part of the sale. And at the end of the day, that's what you have to remind yourself is remove yourself from the equation. You're not a part of the sale. You're advocating on your client's best interest. And at the end of the day, your client should be first and foremost in any decision that you're making.
Gosh, Braden, what a way to end. So many golden nuggets in what you just said there. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and insights. Where can listeners or viewers connect with you and follow your journey?
Yeah, obviously social media. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. My Instagram handle is State48 Braden, I think. Oh gosh, now I really don't know. You caught me on that one. Instagram handle State48 Braden. If you look me up on Facebook, it's just Braden Lopez-Biggs, and then Realtor. I'm on LinkedIn. I am on TikTok. I really don't know what my handle is on that. I should, right, but I don't. Lots of different ways. Obviously, I'm always available for phone or email as well. So.
Thank you so much. Congratulations on your success. I know that your story is going to be inspirational to several others. Appreciate your time and continued success, my friend.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks for listening to Unlocking Real Estate, My First Commission. We hope today's stories and insights gave you that extra spark to keep moving forward in your real estate career. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It helps us reach more listeners like you. And don't forget you can watch this or other episodes on our YouTube channel. We'd also love to hear from you. Send your comments, key takeaways, or recommendations for future guests to unlockingrealestate@colibrirealestate.com.